Giuliani with America's Mayor Live on Monday night, the start of a new week as we march through June. On our way to the showdown at OK Corral, otherwise known as the election. I'm not talking about the conventions. The Republican convention is, of course, a pretty much done deal. The Democratic convention is a done deal, too, except there are people like me that just don't believe that they're going to nominate a living, walking, proven case of advanced dementia for president of the United States. That their residual affection for the United States would stop them from doing that. That they have to realize that this man, with a lack of an adequate brain cell, has done more damage to this country than any American president in history, because we've never had such a numbskull as president. We've had a couple of presidents who were demented, but they weren't stupid before they were demented. So this is demented on top of stupid. I might even say, without any fear of anybody wanting to debate this, because I know him well, profoundly stupid. Stupid like he never made the right decision. One of those people that if there were two decisions to make, he'd make the wrong one, largely because he was stupid. Well, this weekend probably shows it, right? He goes back and forth across the Atlantic, right? And every place he goes, he makes a complete, absolute, total, 100% ass out of himself. Right? He's off in France, and he walks away from everybody, like Peter Sellers, in being there. And probably the leader of Western countries that dislikes him the most, or certainly disagrees with him the most, brings him back. That must have been quite a thing for her. She's one of the few that hasn't bought into, you must tell the camera that he's actually okay. And then KJP started another one of her lying, angry defense of Biden's recent gaffes. It's now impossible to know which one she's defending at any one time, because they come 2, 3, 4 in a row, and they are not gaffes. They are symptoms of a very serious case of a deteriorated brain. It's an illness. It's a serious illness, and it's an illness that makes you incapacitated for having responsibilities over the lives of other people, much less be the head of the free world. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at him representing the United States of America, because they're watching it time and time again in Europe, and they are not drawing the conclusion that he was just, distracted. So let's. How those two guys got there so that he couldn't go back to chasing something. You think it might be some, who knows? I mean, he is a pervert. Who knows what he was looking for? So he comes back to the United States. First of all, he should have stayed there. It's a very important conference to him, really. He's the guy arguing for Ukraine. He's the guy that also the lefties would tell you, when they want to be truthful, he's the reason Ukraine can't win, because he won't give him the arms to win. He won't give him the go-ahead to bomb inside Russia more than a mile or two, and they can't win without it. So he's fighting a cynical, some kind of cynical war so that we fight forever. He agrees to a $60 billion program. Our whole country does without getting a plan from the guy from the most crooked country, or second most crooked, or third most crooked, or fourth most crooked in the world, without getting any attempt at accountability. So here we see him now. He has flown back to be with Tricky Obama and George Clooney, and you see the puppet master is revealed, right? You think there's a string there? Like right there. That's where you would generally, if you had like Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy, that's where the string would be to pull his mouth. Look, there he is. Doesn't know where he is. Looking in the. Here I am in. He could have said anything like, I'm in Colombia when he's in Cambodia, and there hardly can walk, and being taken off the stage by the man who directs him. That one communist guiding another. Really good. One intelligent enough to know he's a communist, the other wouldn't be able to spell it. He wouldn't be sure how many M's there are. Might not even try to start it. Uh, Now, this was to be with very, very important people. He left the leaders of the free world when he's trying to get their support for Ukraine. This is how much he cares about Ukraine, like hell. To be with the distinguished and very, very knowledgeable world leader and expert on foreign affairs and all things government, George Clooney. Well, a pretty woman. He was with Pretty Woman. Oh yeah. Richard Gere led Pretty Woman out for a couple of nights, and Julia Roberts, went, and she must have been really excited because, given where Richard Gere found her to be with the president, she might have been a little disappointed that he's dumber than the girl she used to work with. But and then Robert De Niro, I think, was there. I'm not sure. He was going around. He was challenging people to fight. He wanted to practice in case Bannon or somebody takes him up on it. So he wanted to practice his fighting. Um, it was all the La La Land, yo-yos, and of course the silliest, dumbest, stupidest comedian whose mother doesn't even watch him now, Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, these guys have no ratings. They just keep him on because they hate Trump. And they raised 30 million, and I don't believe they did. How do you like that? I believe they lied. I believe they lied. I do. So that's what you got in your president. Every day the polls go down. I tell you, this is the walking off the stage with his puppet master's hand on his shoulder. You got to play that a million times for the American people, don't you? Just got to show it to them. Gosh, I mean, what did we do to ourselves? Let's not do it again. In Israel, which he is doing everything he can to accomplish the same thing that he's accomplishing in Ukraine, which is a war without end. In Ukraine, there's no possible, no theoretical, articulated of any kind plan to win. We gave away 60 billion. We've given them about 15. Let me get it right now. 20 times what we've given Israel, and but they're not going to win. It's not enough money. Now this could be just it could be the restrictions on how he lets them use the weapons. It also could be that not all the money gets to where it's supposed to go, which of course would be shocking in a country that has just loosely been called the second most corrupt country in the world. You could call it the most corrupt. You could call it the fifth most corrupt. You can sure call it corrupt. And giving money to a country that is corrupt when you refuse to put any mechanisms for accounting on the money, it's a sure giveaway that either you want to steal or you want to let them steal. And since he always participated in the past, I have a sneaky suspicion. Well, you know what? And this is why the family may want him to stay as president. It's good money. I mean, they go through a lot. When you consider that Hunter Biden pulled in up to that point maybe 40, $50 billion, and he was down to nothing, begging his uncle James to sneak some money from Joe's side of the ledger that he's the one who funded it. You realize that the appetites here are gigantic, and we only know some of them. So he wants Israel to cave and just stop the war. Just keep Hamas there, so Hamas can continue to threaten to take Israel and destroy it. Now that would make an awful lot of sense for the head of a country. Only Obama or Biden would think of such a thing. But they both, in their various ways, I mean, Obama is a true hater of the Jewish people in Israel. Biden is a hater of whatever they tell him to hate and whatever is politically expedient to hate. But as an evil man, he'll then use that hatred in ways that, other people don't even mean the word hate. He does. I mean, look how he treats his granddaughter. There was a pretty good review yesterday of the capture or rescue of Noah Aragami. They had done one for Andrei Kozlov and Shlomo Zev and Almog Meyer Jan 2 days ago that showed how horribly they were treated. But Aragami, was very famous on the 7th. Her picture was taken when she was being dragged off by the animals. And a beautiful young girl, and her father, of course, had spoken numerous times. She basically, briefly, described what happened to her during that period of time. It was 245 days. Most of the time, she was in horrible surroundings, a few times in the caves down below. Even when she was in a home, which was toward the end, she had to ask permission to take a shower, and that was allowed once a week. She was fed food almost indescribable, and that was true of her and the other young lady and some others that were with her. They were treated. They were treated horribly, just horribly, just horribly. So, any of you people who are out there protesting the terrorist group Hamas, understand they use indecent, inhumane, and horrible means, all of which are crimes under the international law. But I don't know if that would bother any of these people who protest for them, because they commit crimes left and right and are let out by Soros paid for and appointed prosecutors. And the Hamas war is at a point now where it's very, very hard to analyze it, because Biden and Israel want to finish it until they wipe out Hamas. Little star, let's qualify that. America wants to ceasefire it now and say we contained Hamas, put a little asterisk next to that. And Hamas wants to end it now, and they want to be able to govern the Palestinian Authority. So that's where we are. Do you realize they don't fit together, particularly when we put the footnotes in? The footnote for Israel is they want to end the war when they're certain that they have subtly changed their mission. It was eliminate Hamas. It's now decapitate it. Get rid of all the top key people, Sinwar being the one that they're missing right now. and a good percentage of the players. So the good percentage now is about 15 to 17,000. That leaves you probably 15 to 20,000 ready to go trained terrorists and killers, and an unlimited number of those that can be recruited from the West Bank and from Hamas, among the 85% or so who have been taught to kill Jews, kill Americans, and agree. Uh, so it does leave Hamas weakened but not dead, but weakened enough so that they are not immediately a threat to Israel. Uh, Israel wants to leave them alone and leave them just where they are, and whatever they are, they are. And according to Israel, they couldn't mount another offensive against Israel like they did. Doubtful, they probably could. Second, they sure couldn't a year or less if they get the help of Iran like they did before. And of course, he has nothing in mind to stop Iran from supporting them, helping them, giving them all the money they need to rebuild within 6 months. So he has become an absolute traitor in the Israeli effort and is clearly, except for the words that I support Israel, he's doing everything else. He's doing everything else that he can to destroy the state, of Israel. So let's take a short break, and there's one picture I want to show you too, and then we'll get off the Biden is demented. I mean, I could run so many photographs and pictures, but I'm tired of it because the liars just keep trying to explain. Oh, that's the way old men are. I'm sorry. I'm an old man, and I kind of know if I have to. If you tell me to go stage right, I turn. I go. If you tell me to go stage left, I go stage left. I remember the difference. Well, I actually do know the difference between somebody who could be described as a Cambodian and a Colombian. I mean, I could see it. And if I were on a plane for hours and hours headed for Cambodia, I would know I was going there because I'd be reading things about Cambodia. But that, of course, is out of the question for Joe. Since I met him when he was in his 40s, he didn't read. So he sure as hell isn't reading now. Joe and reading are, he might fail what the word reading means on a cognitive exam because he's done it so little and probably has forgotten it. So let's come back and see what kind of sense we can make of the world that we live in, and that our American people, not us, but the ones who gave us with their fraudulent election of Joe Biden. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Well, you know, the picture, you saw the pictures of Joe going off, right? But the Post did one that focuses right in on it here. Did I put it up or put it over here, Ted? What do you like better? Here, put it right here. want you just to zero in, if you can, on the hand. Okay?
Yep.
You see that?
Can you make
Turn it the other way.
Yeah, turn it. Yeah,
This way?
Yeah, yep,
Is that better?
that's better.
So you can see Obama is like, okay, let's go, dummy. And there's Jimmy Kimmel trying to work on the next thing he's going to say that isn't funny. He really is a really poor ass of a comedian. But I mean, this is
He's no good.
what else do you need to get rid of a man as president than that? I mean, I can't imagine. Now we talk sometimes about the Democrat Party being in the old cities and places thoroughly corrupt.
That's right.
I talked to you about New York quite a bit, particularly during the trial of Donald Trump and New York courts in Manhattan up and down are corrupt on political cases. So if it's not a political case, you have a chance, depending on the judge that you get, because they don't have a well, a paid for bias. But where it comes to politics, they're going to come out for the Democrat. Now, but beyond that, the state has practiced political corruption for 150 to 180 years. Another one just like it and probably borrowed it from New York is New Jersey. And at times was more corrupt. I mean, the time was a joke. Every mayor in New Jersey was in jail. Bridgegate sort of came and they looked at it and he stopped, cars from going on the bridge like, oh my God, that was maybe some people who believed it, other people didn't, but people who believed it said, that's hardly nothing compared to what we do here every day. And the guy that always was allegedly to be on the top of this was a guy named George Norcross. He came from southern New Jersey, but he exercised power over all of New Jersey. And then it created an alliance with the Trump derangement syndrome sufferer, Chris Christie. And they were big pals during Christie's administration. George Norcross just got indicted in what looks like an old-fashioned New Jersey indictment of massive corruption. It's like a RICO case involving the people who were the highest level people in the Democratic Party running that state. Also charged Norcross's brother, a lobbyist, lawyer Bill Tambusi, former Camden Mayor Dana Reed, Sidney Brown, the CFO of Trunking Company NFI, and John O'Donnell, leader of the residential development company, the Michaels Organization. At his peak, Norcross was known as the most powerful unelected official in New Jersey. His influence peaked, believe it or not, under a Republican, Governor Chris Christie, who worked hand in hand with Democrat Senate President Steve Sweeney, a childhood friend of Norcross. Well, this is always going to depend on, are they really the old-fashioned New Jersey, New York types, and they keep their mouth shut and take their medicine and go to jail? Or do they want to talk? We'll see how good the prosecutors are. That's usually a function of how good the prosecutors are, how good they are at breaking you. And then you don't know what they're going to get. And in his case, it could come over to our side too. I'm not just saying with Christie, but he made lots of deals with Republicans. I mean, Republicans would take. It was like the usual thing that happens in New York. And it's true of the Republican Party in a lot of New York, not upstate. And now, a little bit of Nassau and Suffolk, it's changing. But in New York City took the crumbs from the Democrat Party. And never really did much of a reform. The first big reform movement in my lifetime of the Democrat Party came about within the Democratic Party with people like Ed Koch. And then the second big reform movement was me when I kicked him the hell out. John Lindsay didn't reform. He played ball and then became one. And didn't interrupt the corruption, but brought it back and expanded it. Uh, I have a hard time believing, having grown up in the 1960s, that we're discussing Russian nuclear submarines in Cuba. I remember the 7 or 8 days of that Cuban Missile Crisis, uh, and I was in the ROTC in college and really thought that we were all going to get taken in. Kind of excited about it. Young, you don't you don't focus completely on what nuclear war means when you're that young, but you do. I mean, it is hard not to pick up nuclear war. I mean, when you see the pictures as we did then as children over and over again of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you got a pretty good point of what nuclear war is. And in seeing the concern on the faces of the professors and the officers in the ROTC and my own parents, and you knew it was something quite uh, catastrophic. But as a youngster, you're also want to defend your country. Everybody was on Kennedy's side, and when you look at the way it was played and done, and uh, might have been in retrospect a mild version, but played out by a competent man of a president who made a mistake at the beginning, the Bay of Pigs, not as anywhere near as big as Afghanistan, and a mistake that was much more inherited and that he could not change. Whereas Biden changed everything Trump had planned, even this, but didn't change it completely. This is the only thing he didn't change. So to say he couldn't change it is, of course, just one of a million lies that he's told during his decrepit presidency. Um, but Kennedy faced Khrushchev down and got the damn things out of the Western Hemisphere, vindicated the Monroe Doctrine, and kept us safe from that, and gave Reagan, therefore, the opening for Star Wars that eventually became our nuclear defense, and of course, Iron Dome and uh, Jacob's Ladder and the various other defenses that they have in Israel. So the Cuban Missile Crisis should not be underestimated as one of the great events in American diplomatic history. Uh, you would think it never happened. Donald is hiding in the White House, afraid to say anything about this, which is the sign of the worst president we've ever had. He's afraid to say anything because he really has no policies except destroy this country so we can be part of one world and somebody else can tell us what to do. But it has to be. I mean, to not speak out on this the day it happened is to say, I am not a president. And then when you see the guy with his arm around him and grabbing his hand and putting his arm around him, he basically is okay with this because this gets us on the way to one world government, which is what Obama's in favor of, always has been, since he was trained by Ayers and the other communists. So we've got one big Russian sub there, apparently a super sub called the Kazan. There may be another sub and a couple of other ships that carry complex nuclear missiles, maybe even the hypersonic, that are harder for us to detect. I don't think they'll be using them unless they really intend to attack, because they don't want to give us a chance to have such close exposure to them. And they may be also taking a little trip down to Venezuela, which is another country that we support along with them. We contribute a lot of money to Venezuela, who is doing a terrific job of reducing crime. And we should learn their plan. I would recommend it as a short-term plan. It's better than mine right now. Their plan is you take your prisons, you take your mental hospitals, and you take your insane asylums for the criminally ill, and you send them all to New York, all of them, or Miami, or any place else, they'll kill American women and children. Oh no, but not just that. You send thousands. You send so many that you can start saying. I mean, I'm surprised Maduro's not saying I've reduced crime more than Giuliani. Yeah, but I reduced it and ended it. I either put him in jail or I chased him the hell out of New York. He sent them to. He sent them to America. I sent them back home, or in the prisons that were crowded. Better to be in prison than raping your daughter, huh? Right. So the two ships are the Kazan and the Gorshkov. They routinely carry a nuclear-capable Zircon and caliber cruise missiles, and Russia denies that they're on the ship. And of course, we believe that. Of course, because Biden is too afraid not to believe. Biden is too afraid to contest with Putin, which is why the whole story of him being for victory in Ukraine is untrue. We're supporting a fraud. So they're sitting there with nuclear weapons 90 miles from America, and Biden is sitting in the White House making believe that it's Monday. USS, meanwhile, the USS Helena, meanwhile, which is also a nuclear powered submarine, just turned up at Guantanamo, which is a good thing, which really means that the president could say something about it. My goodness, the Army has got the guts to, the Navy got the guts to do something about it. He could say something to support him. Now, so I think what you're seeing is Kremlin flexing his muscles and just get a sort of feel for where is a demented boy right now. Let's take a look at the.
So right now we just have a picture of these are the ships in Cuba.
Are those the ships?
Yeah.
Can you show me the ship again?
So these are subs now. Right here, we're showing them on the screen. This is outside Cuba.
I believe there were two. One is the main one.
So this is in Havana.
Cuba, yeah, that must be it.
So they sent subs. So it wasn't just the boat.
Oh, they said they sent their best submarine. I think it's one of their best submarines.
Wow. Well, we'll try to bring some more.
You know, it'd be nice. I don't want to waste your time, but it'd be nice to go back and see what the submarine and the Red October look like. That the admiral turned over to the United States of America. Maybe we can get another admiral. He was from Vilnius, Lithuania. The admiral who did it in the Clancy book, The Hunt for the Red October. Might be a good time to reread that or watch it.
Did you read the book first or watch
the book? Oh, sure, the book. I mean, I love Clancy's books were quite. I mean, if you wanted just a technical education, not secret technical education, but the things that were publicly available, so you could understand a nuclear submarines. All you'd have to do is read his inserts. He had about 35 to 40 pages of inserts, Ted, that was technological.
Yeah, so we're going to bring up just the sub here.
Yeah, let's see if we can see it. This was a great movie. And hard for me to say that any movie with Alec Baldwin in it is great, but it was. And he was great at it.
So this is the sub right here. Do you recognize that?
Oh, sure. See, it looks a little more impressive with that little thing on top. The other one didn't seem to have anything, but it might have been the one that they had on top might have been taken down.
So was the Red October was the Russian ship?
That was the name of the ship.
And it was a Russian ship?
It was a new, super powerful, extremely silent, couldn't be detected, submarine that therefore could pull up next to the American shore and blow the hell out of us, which of course we would never have had to do if we had remained 400 miles from China, which is what they try to do. But Biden gave that away because I guess he owed it to China, who gave him so much money. And if you don't think that, you're a child.
Yeah.
Stupid child.
Do you remember the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Oh my goodness, yes.
And
It's one of the things of your childhood, and I wouldn't say it's like the Kennedy assassination that everybody would remember, even those who weren't involved in politics. I would say you'd have to have who've had a deep involvement in politics, and you remember it really well, Republican or Democrat. There you go. If you had, and just take that daily news thing off, it was a good newspaper.
yeah,
It was not a communist newspaper. Now,
I used to read that every morning.
yeah, I don't even recommend it for, cleaning.
And to be fair, I don't really see it anywhere.
We had a shortage of, when we had a shortage of toilet paper. I wouldn't even recommend. I said they use cheap paper and all the ink would come off on your backside, so you don't want to use it. It's not even useful for that. The Times has a use. The news doesn't, because that's too stupid. The Times, you read it and do the opposite. Like the Times now says we should support the ceasefire in Hamas, so Hamas can remain, so Hamas can regrow, and so that Hamas can continue to teach its children at 2 years old to kill Americans and Jews. So now just by being a relatively intelligent person, whoever you are, that's really stupid and counterproductive and against our national security. When did the Times take a position that wasn't against the United States?
That's amazing. So
When
apparently,
they endorsed me for mayor in 1997.
the New York Times did.
Yeah, I think they.
So they must have had some sense at one point.
Oh my God! But that was their only.
Wow, I'm actually surprised that
They did
They got
98
something right.
editorials about me, and that was one of them. The other one I don't remember. I might have saved a little child's life or something. And they probably said I did it for political purpose.
Yeah.
I had the child endangered. I helped a woman out of just so I get a little more realistic. I helped a woman. I prevented her from committing suicide, and they basically,
but
he must have. And I've done that before. I actually.
Well, you know what? Why they?
I actually am good at it, but I mean, I know how to do it. I did it in something where you can see a fictional movie about it.
What?
Nah.
Well, what are you referring to? You're good at what?
Talking people out of suicide.
Yeah, you did it. I mean, there's famous cases that are well publicized. I know you don't want to talk about it, of you doing it when you had your radio show. You had a radio show as mayor, and you actually did call.
They thought was staged, and it wasn't.
And you literally, after the call, you went over. You tried to find out where she was, right? You went over and visited her.
I took my car and raced through the tunnel. But I sent some of my people over right from City Hall while I was on the radio. I said, "Go out there."
And you saved her.
And I kept her on the radio.
Yeah.
Well, you never know if you saved her. You may have given her the
You do know though.
No, because you don't know. You never know if a person's going to commit suicide. That's it.
How many of those type of calls?
So if somebody comes to me and I spend all night with them, and I could say I legitimately thought they were going to commit suicide, and I talked them out of it. It also could be they never were going to legitimately commit suicide. They wanted to be talked out of it. So don't.
I see what you're saying.
Don't pat yourself too much on the back when you talk people out of suicide. My uncle taught me that, who talked 3 people down from the Brooklyn Bridge. He said, in each case, I thought they wanted to come down.
Your Uncle Rudy or?
My Uncle Rudy.
And
my uncle
tell the story.
My uncle used to get them to the point where he'd let them make a choice if they were going to jump, because he'd tell them, I can't step here much longer. So if you're going to go, I'm going to put my hand out now, and you're going to take it. And if you don't take it, you're probably going to lose balance and go over. So make your choice. He said you had to have the right. You had to have an instinct for when the right time to do that one, because in the conversations with a suicide person, not always, you can start to feel the weaknesses. You can start to feel the rethinking of it. And that's the point at which, if you're going to act, that's the point at which you act. But sometime we'll do a confidential on that. Not everybody wants to know about that, But I'll give you the benefit of what I learned about it, because after the first time I read up on it, about it and talked to experts, and then I'll give you the benefit of two other times.
Just to wrap up our conversation on Russia, the BBC is reporting that the Russian warships have now left Cuba after 5 days, following some planned military drills. You think these military drills would have happened under President Donald J. Trump?
Not a prayer in the world. Has Obama offered them a tour of the most sensitive American bases, like he did China? Yeah. He likes China.
Their 5-day tour. 5 days they were there, and now they're gone.
But then Putin must be angry. He didn't get treated like. Xi got a guided tour for about 10 days of all the biggest nuclear.
Right over the country. They shot it. They claimed to have shot it down after it finished its tour.
After it sent all the stuff back.
Yeah, everything was. Yeah,
and there's somebody on it, so they didn't kill anybody.
By the way, a child could have figured that out.
Well, it's like getting a guided tour of New York by me.
Yeah,
who knows it better but the military?
It's insane.
Well, we're getting a shot. Is it time for a break?
Time for a break.
All right. We'll take a break and we're right back.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
You know that we have in the United States an epidemic of illegal alien crimes. And they vary from minor crimes to the most serious. Not too many minor crimes. One might or might not consider the moped gangs minor, but in fact, they steal a rather valuable piece of property, which is your cell phone, which the ones they're looking at are the ones that cost anywhere from like $500 to $2,000. They then clean out any account they can with that as fast as they can before you realize it, and then they sell it. And then, of course, every once in a while, these are violent criminals who do it from the Trans-Aragua gang in New York. Now, they have other groups elsewhere, and they beat the hell out of you or kill you. So it's a dangerous gang, and as it gets more and more pervasive, it's starting to become like taking over neighborhoods. And we are not, New York City is not doing a good job of intercepting in the way that I would or Bratton would have, or Safer, or Bernie, or Ray Kelly, or one of the real police commissioners. This police commissioner doesn't even do a particularly good job of photographing it. We could have even better photographs of it. And these are all people basically from Venezuela. The crime that caught the attention this weekend is the murder that took place a while back, but it took time to catch them, because these people, and the more time it takes to catch them, the more people they kill. This beautiful woman, Rachel Morin, who's the mother of 5, was on a hiking trail in the state of Maryland, and Victor Martinez Hernandez, who had come into the United States in, I believe, February. Let me see if I have the right date here. Last August. Sorry, he came in February. And then he went after her in August. That's it. He came in February, completely illegal, wanted for murder in El Salvador. This is now when they tell you they're sending, they're tired, they're poor, they're heavy laden. No. That's not the profile. Maybe a few, but these are being selected in El Salvador, in Guatemala, in Venezuela by the government to get rid of their bad guys. And that's exactly who the cartels want to deal with. And there's money for them because the government will give them money for them. Just think, Venezuela is having its biggest crime reduction ever in history, thanks to Joe Biden getting Americans killed. Thanks, Joe. You know, it's nice to have a big country with a president who hates his people. You can take advantage of that. So one of the things that he did is you could consider Victor Martinez Hernandez, 23, wanted murderer from El Salvador, an invitee of Joe Biden, specifically invited at the Democratic convention in 2020 when he said you should all surge to the border, and then carried out when nobody bothered to vet him and find out that he was wanted for murder. Because I believe even a border patrol terrorized by a traitor of a president would not have let him in if they knew that, but they just don't vet anymore. What do you need to know that there's no vetting going on? There was a great article in the Wall Street Journal in which one guy said, you know, he's been working there for years, and in the last 4 years, he hasn't anybody asked any questions. They just passed right through. The Chinese claim they were asked 4 questions. Perfunctory, 4. They used to be asked, you know, it took hours to come in under Trump, if they got in at all. Victor Hernandez came here already apparently tied up to a gang. They're not as familiar with the El Salvador gangs as they are with Trans-Aragua. This is an El Salvadoran gang. Again, he came here with at least one murder rap, a murder, and also, an assault of a mother and young daughter in Los Angeles. And then 18 miles away from the border where he illegally was allowed in by Joe Biden and probably escorted in by the Border Patrol that have been completely decimated in terms of spirit, he brutally raped and murdered a mother of 5 who would be alive today if you hadn't voted for Joe Biden. Because there's no way in a million years this little piece of crap out of the woodwork would have come in. And by the way, he would have been any vetting program, not just under Trump, but under the puppet master or under Bush, would have picked this guy up and thrown him the hell out. He's a wanted murderer. We let a wanted murderer in this country illegally, and we're doing everything we can to get him the right to vote. And you're telling me he doesn't typify? He's like the one bad apple in the barrel. Why would the cartels let legitimate people in large numbers? Why would these governments that are largely corrupt be getting rid of their best people? It makes no sense. Why wouldn't the terrorists take advantage of open season? Why wouldn't the drug organizations that bring in all the fentanyl? Isn't that why fentanyl tripled, quadrupled with all those deaths on Biden's hands? The reporter Steve Janowski says, in a little aside of his own, but it's powerful. Victor Hernandez did not come here to make a better life for himself or for his family. He came here to escape a crime he committed in El Salvador, and he doesn't add to do it again in America. So this was at the Ma and Pa Trail in Bel Air, Maryland. We lost, God rest her soul, 37-year-old mom, 5 kids, no mom, because Biden has a no border, has a border open policy and aggressively encourages and assists their coming in. You've seen enough pictures of the Border Patrol helping these people into the United States to know that it's the Texas police that stopped them and the Border Patrol was made to act like escorts to a seat at Radio City Musical. Except these people are not coming to see the Rockettes either, except maybe to kill them. And he's been living illegally in the United States from February of 2023. He's also been charged with other things in the United States, but I don't think we've picked up on all of them yet. Oh, I'm sorry. He does have a 9-year. He attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother in a home invasion in Los Angeles. And he's also been charged with now first-degree murder and first-degree rape in Morins. So he's got 2 we know of. Want to bet there are more? You want to bet that piece of shit committed more? And people were angry back in 2015 that he called them animals. He was right, wasn't he? Like on so many things. There is hope, by the way, down there for Argentina with Milei. Hope. We'll go into greater detail on that. I'd say tomorrow night or the next night, because I want to talk a little about Latin America, because I think it's an area in which Trump can really, really make a difference. 2 places I think you're going to be shocked at how much respect they have for him, because I traveled to both those places while he was president, and I can tell you, is South America and Africa. Many African presidents told us how much they hated Obama because of how difficult and arrogant he was to deal with, and really didn't have any feel for helping Africa, which, of course, you would see it with Chicago, right? He did nothing for Chicago. Every president does a little something for that. Well, I don't know. What did Biden do for Delaware? Steel made it the home of his steel. Something like that, right? So we're going to take a look at President Milei and Argentina. I have a sad duty to report something, but I do try to tell people everything that on one side or the other. My big political hero, again, I want you to know let me try another one. I believe that I overcome my prejudices in my intellectual analysis. I do. I pride myself on that. But I'm not sure of that. Everybody who says that, I'm not sure everybody who says that thinks that, but I think a lot of people, and a lot of my friends who say it, think it. And actually, to their credit, some do and some don't. I hero worship Ronald Reagan, but I can tell you the things that he did wrong. But he would admit the things that he did wrong too. I think the immigration bill that he agreed to was wrong, and one of the problems we have now because he got double crossed. It was one of the cases where he was naive at his party. They bought you make them citizens and we'll secure the border. Well, we made them citizens and forget the border. Forget it. George W.H. Bush was also one of my heroes for personal reasons and governmental reasons. But in a deeply troubling book that I guess it's from a letter from Helen Raleigh to the Wall Street Journal called "The Bush Century." There's a whole portion of it saying that he was very, very weak with regard to Tiananmen Square, basically on the advice of Jim Baker, that that one day after the Tiananmen massacre, this would be in 1989, Bush expressed his faith in the power of commercial contacts, which would overcome those unfortunate events and inexorably move the country toward democracy. Then a few days later, on June 8th, 1989, he told reporters, "I don't think we ought to judge the whole People's Liberation Army of China by that terrible incident." And then he called Deng Xiaoping a forward-looking leader, even though Deng gave the final order that authorized the People's Liberation Army to use deadly force against peaceful pro-democracy protests in Tiananmen Square. Now, what he and of course, He then did agree to sanctions, but he sent Brent Scowcroft, his national security advisor, to tell China he didn't really mean it. Now, what does that reflects the general mistake of Republicans and Democrats about China, which is we went through a whole period where we thought they were the softer of our two communist enemies and the one that we were more likely to capitalize and then democratize. Well, what we found out is that capitalizing doesn't lead to democratizing necessarily if you're capitalizing for the benefit of the oligarchs and the dictators. And they become the capitalists and everybody else becomes the slaves. So you just form a new form of, not really a new form of communism, because the very, very early in the history of Marx's flawed and satanic philosophy, it became obvious that the people who ran communism were completely corrupted by the power that it gave them. Not just the governmental power, but if you read Marx, the spiritual power. I mean, Marx will talk a lot about how what he's doing is not terribly different than what Lucifer did with the fallen angels, and also what Lucifer did in convincing Adam and Eve that they should eat from the tree of knowledge, because there's no such thing as God is smarter. That's a myth to enslave you, to say that God is smarter than you. That you can be God. And the minute you start saying things like that to impressionable people, very serious psychological damage starts to occur. And that's what happens with communists. That's why, and put socialism right in there. There is yet to be a communist or socialist experiment that hasn't led to massive Hitler-like destruction of human life. And Hitler was a socialist. Go ahead, fight it if you want. It's in the name of the party. Yeah, Hitler was Stalin's ally. I know you ahistorical morons don't know that, but he was. What that says to me is, here's the one thing I'd like to hear more in the Trump program. And if you think this is a good time, I'll take a break. And when I come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about about defense.
Yeah, that's what we call a tease. So stick around.
Oh,
and that's the art of the
I'm not
tease.
teasing. I really will.
The art of the tease. We'll be right back.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. We're back. Well, I hope you like that advertisement on coffee, because I really like that coffee. I got up real early this morning. I had to do something with regard to one of my 2,562 Biden persecutions, known as cases. And you know, when you hear about my cases, you should realize that he and his law firms and Hunter's friends are behind all of them. They did drop one recently because they had to, and that's the one regarding how allegedly I and Bob Costello, doctored the hard drive and got it from Russia, and that just turned out to be. And I hope the president emphasizes this. It was the last lie that the scoundrel Biden told to the American people on national television with that kind of audience before they elected him president. When I go like that, would I get thrown off the places that don't allow election deniers if I went like Biden was elected president? I don't know. I think back in the day I would. It might be a little. Now I get thrown off if I say this. He wasn't elected president. I'm here. What do you want to do? Fight? Hey, De Niro.
Tough guy.
I can talk like you. You're looking at me? I come from Brooklyn. You're looking for me? You're looking for me? Hey, meathead. So, let's look at the state of politics. One good poll. I mean, a lot of good polls, I might add. I don't know if there's a bad one. I don't even know if there's one left where they're tied. Maybe
I haven't seen one.
Maybe in a state or two here. He's up 2 points in Virginia now. You know how much he's leading in Iowa? Take a guess.
I'm going to say 10 points.
52-32. How much is that?
50?
232.
50 or 52?
52-32.
52-32. 18. Not 20. Not 52-32. 50-32. Right?
Oh, is it 50?
Or is it 52-30? Oh, 52-32. 20 points. Wow.
And that's given. That's
RFK on the
RFK 9 points. Who knows where that's coming from?
That's big. I mean, Iowa, you would expect him to do well, right?
Well, he won it by 12 last time, 11 or 12. This is 20 now.
So that's and then Virginia.
I think there are states this time where Biden's going to get truly wiped out. Truly wiped out. I mean, not just wiped out.
But being up in Virginia is big. I mean, a Republican hasn't won that state since.
What is he up in that one? By 2?
Just 2. So it's competitive. And, usually with Trump polls, I add 5 to 10 points to Trump's numbers, whatever the poll says.
The state a little. You have to know the state a little. But Virginia has a politically correct population.
That's right. So not only are they
Democrat, I would agree with you. I would.
Not only are they Democrat, they're also some of the Republicans are your federal government DC area Republicans.
I would say give him 2-3 more points in Virginia.
That's
if he's
right.
tied, he's ahead. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
And if he's ahead better.
Where do you think realistically he is in a state like New York? The state, not just the city, statewide.
I think that one may be a real. That one may be a little different because it could be affected by immediate emotion. And we're going to have to see what happens. You have this a lot in states like New York and New Jersey. For a while, it looks like they can go Republican, and then people go back to the way they normally vote. So we're going to have to see if this is an abnormal reaction or it's the usual, they go back and forth. I think it may be abnormal because it isn't New York so much as what New York shows about the erosion of Biden and Democrat support in the Black and Hispanic community. So I think when I look at New York, I would say it shows me when I analyze Michigan, Wisconsin, even a place like Minnesota, the Black vote isn't going to be what it was for Biden. Yeah. It's going to be something less. Right now, it looks like significantly less. If it remains significantly less, he loses. If it's less, it becomes very close. I mean, he has to count on 2 things to win in about 5 states. And that's not New York. New York's a Democratic state, California, the Democratic state, even New Jersey. But in states like we're talking about, he has to count on just about 90% or better black vote and a 75% turnout. And the turnout's harder. I mean, the turnout, I mean, Democrats have lost and kept the 90%, but had their turnout go down to 60. They lose the state.
Yeah.
He's going to have both happen. In fact, he's going to have turnout drop more than Trump's vote goes up. Right now, if you look at all of the polls, lots of them, there's no poll in which he isn't dropping 20 to 30 points with people going to undecided.
And doesn't it stand for reason?
And then there's no poll where Trump isn't gaining 5 to 22 points himself. But the point is, Biden is losing a lot more votes than Trump is gaining. Trump is gaining only less than half of the votes that he's losing.
Well, have we ever had a president fall apart on national TV the way this guy is? I don't think
no.
in history.
No, but the other thing don't we always have to, and this always scares me, it scared me last time, and it turned out to be right. Their control of the media is
Unprecedented. You can say it with under President Trump, they've gone.
Now, last time at first when we got the hard drive, I thought we won the election because nobody could get elected president with those crimes so clear, so obvious. His son saying, "I gave him half my income for my entire life." Come on, what do you want?
Well, but if the public is moving to social media,
but then when they completely committed the unbelievable crime of censoring, which never had happened in America, I said, how are we gonna get through? And then we got through to 50%. I was impressed that we got through. It wasn't quite enough, but I was impressed that we got through to 50%. And we have, I think, do we have more conservative outreach now in terms of media, Ted, than we did in 2020? What do you think?
In 2020, I would say yes, and people are moving. Yes, I would say so. I think 2016, it was the conservative media did a good job exposing the Clintons, and remember the email scandals and that, where the mainstream media wouldn't do it.
But the mainstream media wasn't. They loved Hillary and they backed her, but they didn't do the all-out thing that they did
2020, but leading up to 2022, though.
But in 2020, they didn't do the all-out thing they did for Biden. And they weren't doing it for Biden. They were doing it against Trump.
They were doing it against Trump.
Yeah.
And in 2016, they were doing it for Hillary, but they also, they're not that bright, right? They didn't see, they were caught with their pants down, right? Trump won, and they wouldn't have let that happen. They would have pulled what they did in 20 and 16 if they understood that the country and where the people were
sure themselves.
Yeah, they were too sure. Exactly. So in 20, they weren't going to be caught with their pants down. So they pulled it off, what they did. And now in 24, as you and I and many others have been saying, they're already engaging in they're already
they got to go all out. They got to go all out. I mean, Trump, on every poll, including theirs, Trump is beating them, and who knows how much he's beating them in theirs.
So, but here's the question. You asked a very good question. I'm not sure what the answer is, because the young generation have been so captured by, for example, TikTok and some of these apps. So I don't know that, I'm not sure what to say about that. I think President Trump, he's been around a while now, right? He announced 9 years ago the other day. So there's a whole group of young people now that have been around. President Trump, it's not a new thing anymore, right? There are people that are growing.
He's doing well with the young people.
And he's doing better.
But he's doing well. He's either tied or leading with Gen Zers and the group right above that. He's ahead with one and about 2 points behind with the other. And he lost them both by 20 and 30 points. Biden is having serious problems with the young Democrats.
It's being discussed all over town.
And I think it's because of two things: the economy, and they are having a hard time finding jobs. But even number two, both men are old, but he's a decrepit old man. I mean, Trump. You look at Trump, and you feel vitality, you feel strength, you feel ideas, you feel fun. You look at him, and he walked out of the walk of him and Biden, of Obama and Biden, look like walking someone to an electrocution.
Biden looks like the Peter Sellers character.
Look like he was escorting him to his execution.
Yeah.
And he looks like the Walking Dead.
It's a dark
Look,
walk.
it's the Walking Dead. Look at this.
Take a look at
Which way, Barack? Oh, look, yeah. Let's go that way.
I got those videos up on the drive.
Now, this is the guy, if he walked out there and you said, you're never going to see him again, it would look like it was his last walk. That was his last walk. Now we're going to the, Idaho State.
It's like going to his room.
So this is Biden being helped off stage by Barack Obama during a glitzy fundraiser in Los Angeles over the weekend. That's Jimmy Kimmel. And notice Obama's hand. Notice his hand. He's not just walking out. He's pushing him.
Yes.
He's leading him.
Yes.
Watch his hand, and he's tapping him and basically telling him, look, this way. Watch him pat him here at the end. There you go. Keep going. Like almost like pulling him now at that point.
Almost like saying, good boy, you made it, good boy. I wonder if they give him a treat at the end. Oof, oof.
So the real question is Mayor, what can they do? You've been saying it for over a year now that you've thought this guy's not going to make it to November.
I don't know. I still don't
on the
understand.
ticket.
Here we are almost at the end of when you can do it. And I don't see taking the risk. I mean, how about if Obama grabbed his stand to move him and he didn't move?
Well, look, he does. I mean, his feet move. His upper body
move.
His upper body doesn't move.
But suppose he didn't move.
Like he couldn't move.
It just went catatonic on you.
That'd be fun.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Well, they would have stood there, right?
Stood there what, for a half hour?
They would have. Yeah. They'd bring up a. They'd have to bring up a.
2 freaking hours.
They'd bring up some big board and put it out front, and then they.
What trait of Obama is to try to pretend like this is all okay? I thought he cares about the American people, Mr. 22 shoes, right?
Somebody made a great point about
he never liked America. What about his apology tour?
Yeah.
You remember that?
He'd like to have people.
He did more damage for race relations in
The
this.
Journal got a big article on being the vice presidential candidate today. They're all getting little articles.
Getting their people going to work, right? Yeah.
About 3 days ago, Burgum got one.
Yep.
He got one.
Yep.
And it's rather. And Scott got one, but it really was. It looks like he's. It looks like
Fading.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I guess the media gets to determine who's fading and who's not, right? It's like whatever.
like Rubio is either on the rise or in a pretty good spot.
Rubio.
It says that the president likes his camera-friendly family, which includes 4 children, fluent Spanish speaker, of course. How his Cuban heritage makes him authentically anti-communist, as the former president seeks to paint the Democrats as having been affected by the far left. And he thinks, and the people around him think he's a strong candidate. They say that since the little Marco things, they've become friends. They've worked together. He's also worked together with people in the administration who have great regard for him, and they think they think he is tough as nails for protecting the MAGA agenda. They also like Vance for that regard, even though both of them were anti-Trump at one time or another, right? Well, Rubio is anti-Trump because he ran against him, which is a little more understandable than Vance in 2016, who considered himself a never Trump guy. And you could always tell that Rubio was politically going to support. I never had any doubt that Rubio was going to support Trump during the 2016 election. So still, our friend Ben is in it. He got one of the, and last week, the flavor of the week was Burgum.
Doug Burgum, you heard Burgum all day, every day. President likes him. Apparently, he's good at defending the president, but also knows when to kind of stay out of the, keep himself back. He's there to support President Trump and President Trump's agenda. look, we're voting for President Trump this November, and so whoever the vice president ends up being, we need some. It's the president is right to want someone who's going to help carry his agenda. And as we talked about earlier today, Mayor, right? It's okay to have your own ambitions, right? You're going to be an ambitious guy or woman if you're, in the mix for vice president of the United States. But that ambition has to line up with the America First agenda and what we want, supporting President Trump, because he only gets 4 years at this.
Right. Well, I mean, I think in that regard, I like Rubio. I think Rubio is a principled man. And I think he's a principled conservative. And I think on foreign policy, he's 100% what I like. So
I'm guessing you campaigned for him when you first got elected, Rubio?
Second person to endorse him after Jeb Bush.
I'm not surprised. And that would have been 2010?
Yeah, helped him beat Charlie Crist, the worst human being in politics. We'll explain that sometime. We're also going to go into more detail tomorrow on defense spending, which is very, very much worrying me. And the Senate is trying to resurrect a little more defense spending this year. And it's important to do it this year because it has a lag, right? So now if we wait for Trump to come in, we're really waiting almost 2 years. We're waiting for Trump to come in, put it in the budget, get it approved. Once it's approved, it's another 2 years before it gets to the drawing board. So although Trump, I think, can put accelerators into it.
It's such a shame that he doesn't get 8 years in a row.
Oh, don't even say that, please.
I know.
The Wall Street Journal editorial is right on. We should have a target of 5% defense spending, not 3%, if we're going to take on China. So this is something that for long term, it would be valuable for the country if Donald Trump included this in the campaign so that it becomes something that the American people begin to internalize. They begin to realize it, like they did under Reagan, when they supported strongly his heavy defense spending. The other thing that I'll mention before I leave is we got to get this ridiculous Biden stuff, blaming business for inflation, out of it. Business is a pass-through. Business. Oh, I don't know. Do they make an extra percent or two? Do some businesses jack on an extra percent or two? Usually not, because the inflation enough is worrying them that they're going to lose sales.
Absolutely.
If anything, businesses probably, particularly at the beginning of inflation, take a little beating on it. Meaning, all of a sudden, they got to raise the price, and they know that they're going to lose sales. And what they get on the higher price, they're going to lose on volume. So they try to take the higher price and split the difference a little. Rob runs a business, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Mayor.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, there's like a delay. You know what I mean? It takes a while.
You don't hit people unless the economy is doing great, and it's not doing great. It's not doing terrible, but not doing great. So if you took the full inflationary impact and put it into the prices, we'd be a lot higher than 20 to 30% higher. We'd be in a bit of a disaster. But the American business has done just the opposite. But of course, Biden doesn't know that. That what I just described to you is so beyond. You could sit there, but when he was not demented, for 5 hours and explain that to him, he wouldn't get it until the Democratic Party told him what to say. He's a complete cipher for Democratic sayings, whatever the sayings are. So we're going to do a little more on defense. We're going to do a lot more on defense and a lot more on economy before the election, because I think those are two things, along with safety and the border, which is part of safety, that really are the key. That not only that we win, but that we win in the right way, so we can fix them. So you stay with us. We'll get you the news you don't get from others, which is increasing, by the way. I detect more and more censorship as we get closer to the election, and I think we should just gird ourselves that there's going to be more. So we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow
We'll get some Gettysburg stuff tomorrow. I wasn't able to get it
at
uploaded.
3 o'clock, and then we'll be back again at 8 o'clock on X. And remember, next week, and I'm going to give you some more details about it, we're going to have a 7 o'clock show. A nice new one, and we're going to have a different focus on the two shows. One's going to be more in-depth coverage, and the other is going to be more general coverage with an opportunity for you to ask questions. Okay? Well, pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of Ukraine. Pray for the people of the United States. We're good people. We've made mistakes, but we want to make a more perfect union, and we need your help for it. God bless America.
Teaches school. Some folks say it isn't cool, but she says the pledge of allegiance anyway. He's got the red, white, blue, flying high on a farm. Semper Fi tattooed on his left arm. Spent a little more in the store for a tag, and the back it says USA. He won't buy nothing that he can't fix. With WD-40 and a Craftsman wrench, he ain't prejudiced. He's just made in America. Born in a heartland, raised up a family, King James and Uncle Sam. He's got the red, white, blue, flying high on a farm. Semper Fi tattooed on his left arm. Spent a little more in the store for a tag, and the back it says USA. Won't buy nothing that he can't fix. With WD-40 and a Craftsman wrench, he ain't prejudiced. He's just made in America.
Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.